clean it up.
In Bruise, I mean, from the beginning, I get this sense of impending terror and fear. This woman is so anxious, she's overly cautious. So my first thought is, okay, what's going on and why? Um, Throughout this whole piece, her movements are painful but graceful at the same time. It's like it's a dance, but she's tormented by the music. It does such a great job of showing tension within this woman in her own household. Takes the mundane actions of like just folding a sheet, and turning into a whimsical moment, which changes as soon as her husband comes in. And then you see, like, oh, this is where the fear comes from. I loved how they did this pan of her kind of going to the phone as if she's going to call someone, and then being afraid, and then we kind of slow plan and we see her husband sitting in another room, and then we get a sense just from that, like, oh, she's afraid of him. So it was just so clear. Great direction. His abuse, when he actually comes to abuse her, is a dance, and there's a graceful but pain to it, terror. Such a great performance from her. In him as well, it was very believable that he was hurting her, even though it was very clear that this is all choreographed, this is a dance. But even in that, it still felt like the same way I would feel to see this beating actually occurring. It still gave me that same feeling of, oh, I'm afraid for her. Even with her husband and his performance, the smirk he gives after abusing her is eerie. Her escaping out the back door and sort of letting out all attention to scream and not being able to scream, then it kind of makes me realize, like, okay, she's withholding a lot of things. And I loved how, musically it always came out as this muffled sound, like not a full scream, sort of like a whistle, as if it's like, I can't get this out, I can't scream. And so that was so clear as well. The whole doc portrays men as being evil, which I know, is a choice to kind of make a point of what women are going through. So when you see her go to the rugby field trying to escape, but then yet again, it's men being, not nice to her. I loved how her running is this disoriented dance that she's doing. And then we finally see some redemption when she, is protected or able to find other women who feel the same way as her, and she's able to face the demon that is her husband. And this is powerful because it's this moment where they're finally able to let out this scream that it's like she's been trying to let out this whole time and unable to. And it shows the effect of domestic abuse on the psyche of women, the feeling that you can't say anything, the feeling that you can't run, the feeling that there's not going to be someone to help you. All of that was completely implemented here. The reasons why people don't leave, the fear of leaving, the mind control of it all of that is completely implemented here. And then you also have this idea of, well, the ending where it showed the statistics. So then it made everything even more make sense, because then you got to see how in this place of the world, particularly the percentage of abuse that's happening within husbands and wives household, but also the percentage of abuse that is happening with just men who are not even husbands. So then the whole rugby scene made even more sense, because just like, okay, in this part of the town, there's this percentage of women who are being abused by men they're not even married to, who they may not even know. And so the portrayal of men everywhere in this documentary made a lot more sense. It was really meant to hone in on a point, and it did just that. It was very powerful.
This debut for Bruce, this was so dramatic and well choreographed. This situation is unfortunately too relatable all around the world according to the statistics they show at the end. I noticed how they use colors orange, red, and yellow specifically, and the music is so crucial as well. The different negative traumatic interactions this character has to face, even during her escape, were very well described and are too familiar for a lot of women. This film offers an awesome sensitive approach to the issue, and I really enjoyed it. It was moving and so well acted as well. I really enjoyed it.
I really loved the opening few minutes of Bruises. Visually, they were so well done in terms of the color, the saturation, the details in the kitchen, even the characters' outfits. There was something that worked so effectively in terms of setting up the situation and our expectations as an audience. And then I think that setup made the rest of the documentary or the piece so effective afterwards and so impactful. A really important topic and a really well made documentary on the topic.
This was a really intriguing piece that drew me in right away. Um, just had a certain quality to it. We get the sense that we're in a sort of period drama, and then um, I kind of learned only through watching it. I wasn't prepared that it really is just sort of a dance interpretation, and I thought it was masterfully done. The movements really did seem to evoke what I believed were the inner workings and feelings of our lead. She does a great job with those movements. It's just also visceral and really convincing. And then with the PSA at the end, I mean, yeah, it all made sense. So I think for a PSA the way it is, it's like superbly done, very cinematic. It's just got a really keen filmmaking sensibility behind it, on top of a really strong message. So great work.
Bruise. So I did enjoy the color correction and the grading that sort of went through this film. I think it really does. They did well with that. The colors really do pop out at you, and it gives us like a sort of stylistic 1950s style. I'm not sure exactly when it was. I don't think it is that time zone, but it sort of gives you that impression, especially when it comes to the two characters of the sort of domestic life. I think the color does that. I like how they use music and dancing to communicate, except for the sort of here and there the sounds of clean it up and help me when the characters actually speak. But outside of that, I did enjoy the non-communicative, non-dialogue, except through music and dancing. I think that was interesting, especially sort of certain scenes that can seem come off quite hurtful and aggressive and sort of slightly terrifying. Instead of them sort of truly acting them out, they're using music and dancing. So I think that's a great way to really convey something that could be triggering to other people. Um, and yeah, I like the rhythmic expression as well as I think it is a very sensitive topic but an important topic, and I like how they decided to tell that in their unique way, and the point definitely does come across. So I congrats to the filmmaker for that. Again, this is a very important topic, and yeah, I'm glad that they addressed that.
Bruise was so incredibly well done. I loved the dance interpretation that was kind of weaved throughout the action. Um, Wonderful, wonderful performance by the woman, and it was so realistic and grounded, but also artistic, and it said so much without really having to say anything at all. I think that scene where she got to the rugby field and was surrounded by the players was so powerful. It was so difficult to watch, and I just had goosebumps throughout the whole thing. It was incredibly performed, and tells a really real and heartbreaking story that is true for so many women in the world. And I just thought it was done so thoughtfully and respectfully and beautifully. And it really, towed both of those lines really, really well. So this was incredibly, incredibly done. Great job to everyone involved.